so many other coaches, black coaches and otherwise, that you could bestow this position upon, bestow this honor upon, give this opportunity to be offensive coordinator when you're an offensive coach yourself. Why does he have to have Art Briles?
He's trying to win.
But it's not. But Michael, it's not worth. You don't win, but you can't win at all costs. I'm sorry. Whoever said win at all costs, there's a threshold. There's a line. Okay, and win at all costs, it's not worth this, because what are you losing? What are you losing in terms of the brand and the respect that this university has? You're not going to tell me that the difference between winning and losing at Grambling is Art Briles. It's not worth this trouble.
Is he worth the trouble in 2 years? Is he worth the trouble if he says the right?
Feel free to
so
infer
you think he should be,
that I'm saying he shouldn't coach again.
Well, you are.
Feel free to infer that. Fine. That's fine.
If it's not going to be better in 2 years, if it's not going to be better.
Sure.
Via a statement
you need me to say the words?
Hugh Jackson,
he should never coach again.
Jackson's foundation.
He should never coach again.
All right, that was us yesterday. Talking about Art Briles, and I think as we were talking about him, Art Briles already knew what he was doing next, and what he was doing next is something he's done often since 2016 when he was pushed out at Baylor. He has flirted with jobs, Michael Smith. He's flirted with jobs. People have talked with him about jobs. There's a little bit of a stir, and then he backs away, or somebody backs away from him. That happened in the CFL. Pushback, offer is no good here. Grambling, they offered, he takes the job. He says, I don't want to be a distraction. He backs away. Also, another college football job a couple years ago. They wanted to bring him in, pushback. Nah, we can't let this happen. And Art Briles, once again, is out there. And he is now 6 years past his ouster at Baylor, and we're still talking about him and still saying that maybe he's not employable. I mean, is that really what it comes down to for Art Briles? I don't think it should be like that for anybody. I shouldn't say anybody. I don't think it should be like that for Art Briles. I don't think Art Briles should be an unemployable offensive coordinator at Grambling. I think that's a bit much. And I know what all of the serious allegations, and I take those allegations and those realities, those findings, I take those things seriously. But I also take redemption seriously. And are we saying that, Mike, are we saying that Art Briles, it's just Art Briles? Is it people on Art Briles' staff? Should the entire coaching staff that he led, should they also be prevented from coaching again? Like, how far do we want to extend this thing? How about the players? How about some of the players that he protected? Should they not coach? Should they not play? Like, how deep does that circle get where we look to everybody who knew something at Baylor, and then we shut down their employability in perpetuity? I don't know. I'm just not comfortable with it.
Well, I'm more than comfortable with it. I think one can be redeemed, one can be forgiven, but you don't have to be employed. You don't have to coach football again. You didn't have
Why
to.
not?
Those two things can be mutually exclusive. Okay, he can be redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. He can be forgiven, but he doesn't have to be your football coach. I told you yesterday, clearly nothing changed. He has not shown any contrition. He has not shown any true remorse for, you asked yesterday, what did he do wrong? That's the point. He didn't do jack. He didn't do anything. He enabled, and you used the word a second ago, protected a culture of sexual assault and has not been accountable for it beyond having to resign. He has not said nor done the right things that would make anybody feel good about hiring Art Briles. It's also just too soon. Why is he entitled to a job? You keep asking me.
Hugh Jackson felt good about it. Hugh Jackson felt good about it. You said anybody.
Which was
Why is that dumb?
Because the last person who felt good about it, he had to resign. You just laid it out. How many times we got to see this happen before somebody did? Why Hugh Jackson sit up here saying, oh, this will go well. This will go over well. I'm going to go hot. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do what nobody else has thought to do since 2016. I'm going to hire Art Briles. And nobody's going to say anything because I am the arbiter of forgiveness. I am the arbiter of retribution. I am the arbiter of redemption. You don't have to, and nobody's going to complain. Only for him to resign amid the backlash, which how many people have to make a mistake before you decide I'm not going to make the same mistake they did? What made Hugh Jackson and Grambling above reproach when it comes to hiring a guy who is radioactive? That was my point yesterday. Even if everybody should feel like you feel, Michael, and I appreciate where you're coming from, I really do. But even if everybody should feel like you feel, still too soon. Still too soon. Ask the victims if they've forgiven Baylor and everybody involved with the culture that allowed their lives to be destroyed. So Art Briles, I have no sympathy for Art Briles. I don't think Art Briles should be entitled to a coaching job. He didn't do anything, and he didn't do anything when he had a chance to do something, and he hasn't done anything since then. And it is never too late to do the right thing, except when you were wrong-headed to begin with. Not you, talking about Grambling. You were wrong-headed to begin with.
Look, I don't think anybody's entitled to a job, anybody, but I also don't think that he should be barred forever from coaching. Listen.
Okay, well, if he took the requisite steps to show true remorse and contrition and show that he understands the gravity of the error of his ways, which he hasn't said or done anything that, to my knowledge, to suggest that he has, then maybe people would feel better about him getting another opportunity to coach. Right now, we're not there. So don't put the onus on us for somehow being wrong, for not being comfortable with Art Briles having a job, as opposed to the onus being on Art Briles for making everybody comfortable, to show that he's actually learned from his mistakes, if you want to call them mistakes, because he knew exactly what he was doing.
I don't know if he's learned. I don't know what he's learned. I don't know what his level of contrition is. I don't know that.
Because he hasn't told us.
I know this. As a head coach, it all comes back to you. So it all comes back to you, even if the reality is there are many people involved. There are many layers involved when you're talking about big-time coaching. So I'm sure he had assistants.
Ken Starr had to resign too.
People.
I don't know what Ken Starr is up to these days.
I'm sure he had a lot of people on his staff who he assigned certain tasks. And he had bad judgment. Briles did. And they did too. So that's layer. Maybe that's layer number 3 or layer number 4. But what I don't like in these conversations is that we rarely focus on layer 1. Layer 1. So sure, the cliche is I send my young man to you, Art, and I take my young man and I entrust you to help that young man, that boy become a man, and you're gonna look over him and you're gonna treat him as if he's your own son. I got it. I got that. But let's put the onus on the kid. How about how about the actual perpetrators? I know there's an oversight involved. Wait a minute. I know there's a responsibility for a head coach. When you see something, you say something. But I want more of a focus on the people who have done crimes. And it's almost like we look for a pound of flesh. We look for a face of it, but it's not the face. What's with the whataboutism?
But I'm not feeling this whataboutism. The people who committed the crimes ain't up for offensive coordinator at Grambling. We ain't talking about them. Ain't nobody hiring them. So what about the kids who actually did it? What about the actual rapists? What about the actual assaulters? We ain't talking about them right now. We ain't talking about them. We're talking about Art Briles.
Okay.
We're talking about Art Briles. That's who Grambling tried to hire. If Grambling tried to bring Ken Starr as its president, if Grambling tried to hire a convicted rapist, we'd have that conversation too. And you're absolutely right. Art Briles didn't actually commit the crimes in question here, but he fostered an environment that allowed for those crimes to run rampant. So we don't need to talk about a number of what was it, 50-something rapes? I had it in front of me yesterday. I'm gonna get the number wrong. There were an egregious number of sexual assaults committed on Briles' watch. Yes, those individuals deserve more scrutiny. When they up for offensive coordinator at Grambling, we'll talk about that. My point yesterday, and it remains today, and I'll tell you, I did not have this topic being, us having this much fire around this topic on my bingo card today, I thought it was going to be over after last night, is just answer me this. And we can go to break off of this, because I'd like to get one more thing in before we bring in our guests, if you don't mind. Just answer me this question. If you're Grambling and you're Hugh Jackson, was it worth it? That's the,
Sure.
We could agree to disagree on forgiveness. Was it worth it?
Sure. Yes.
It was?
I do. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Because I want to know this. What do we need to hear? Do we need a state? Do we need tears? You want something performative from Art Briles? What do we want from Art Briles to say, okay, you have our blessing now. There's no more pushback. You're no longer radioactive. You're no longer toxic. Is it a statement? Is it community service? What is it?
It was worth it because we are standing in judgment where we shouldn't. You're saying it was worth it for them to hire him. It was worth all this trouble.
No.
So why was it worth it, though? Why was it worth it? Why was this juice worth the squeeze?
Because you're Grambling. You're not hiring Art Briles as your head coach. You've got a head coach who you think is a great decision maker. And he tried to bring in a coach who is the best offensive coordinator on the market. He is. We don't like him? Okay, fine. He is. He is. Based on his record, based on his production, based on his credentials, Grambling, if you're not talking about all the things that come with him, if you're talking about the coach himself, his ability to coach football, yeah. For Grambling, they're not going to have anybody else like this. There's nobody like this on the market. So yeah, he was the best coach.
So if that's what's most important to you, okay. So if we're just talking about X's and O's, that's what's most important to you.
And that's the problem.
But that's the problem. But that's the problem.
I didn't say
it's more than that.
But I'm telling you, and it's like I said yesterday, for Hugh Jackson, and I haven't spoken with Hugh Jackson about this, but just from afar, and if I'm totally wrong, okay, Hugh, clean it up. 336-1 informs everything that he does. 336-1.
And you know what? So you know what this is called?
And it is about winning for him. It's about winning.
What last night's resignation says? This is an error in judgment, number one. And number two, the honeymoon that saw him usher in an unprecedented name, image, and likeness deal for Grambling is now over. Already, before he even coached the game. I say again, was it worth it? And that's rhetorical.
Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.